My name is Linda Castillo. I'm with Modern Latina. And for those of you, we are having a special event here today. We've brought in a financial advisor, Herminia Ojeda, as part of our financial literacy month. We really wanted to talk about how we can establish and maintain some healthy financial habits, as well as have a large part of the conversation about what we can do now, given this current environment in with the pandemic. So I'd like to just give Herminia a quick moment to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Herminia Ojeda. I am with Ameriprise Financial. I am a fiduciary. I've been with Ameriprise for the past 15 years. I am part of a franchise practice in Campbell. Background is industrial engineering. I graduated with an industrial engineering degree from San Jose State. So I'm a Spartan alumni. I think, Linda, you are too.
Yes.
So
I am. Go Spartans. So I wanted to just start a little bit about the basics. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around what financial advisors do, and sometimes a misconception that you have to be really, really rich to even need a financial advisor. So I want to just start with some questions. If you could just tell me a little bit about what you do and the different types of financial advisors there are.
Yeah, so basically what I do is I help people achieve their goals. That's the best thing. That's the simple answer in a sense. And there's different types of financial advisors. You could include, for example, your accountant, your estate planner, your attorney, your insurance agent. Those are all part of the financial planning aspect. However, an actual financial advisor, like what I do, you could sort of consider us in a sense, the doctors for your money, in a sense, your primary care physicians for your money, right? You know, when you go to Kaiser or whoever is your primary physician, they are the sort of the big picture guy. They sort of check if everything's going and running smoothly. However, if you need to, for women, if you need an OBGYN, they send you that way. If you need to get your blood drawn, they send you somewhere else. But they sort of bring the entire team together and they make sure that everybody's talking and communicating the way they should. So, and you could basically see financial advisors as your financial planning, your planning friends in a sense. What I do is that I sit down with someone and I assess their situation, what they're doing well and what they need a little bit of help with. And I help them refine what their goals are. So if said retiring, okay, you want to retire. When do you want to retire? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Do you want to travel around the world every year? Or, do you want to take one trip or do you want to live in Mexico half of the year or in France, whatever it is, right? Everybody has different goals. And my job is to help you create strategies to help you achieve those goals efficiently and hopefully along the way, avoid a lot of costly financial mistakes.
So tell me, is there a right time for you to start working with a financial advisor? Do you have to have like a certain amount in the bank, or can you start, any recommendations on that right after college when you start getting a 401k and, the company's doing half the, they're participating in putting funds in your 401k. So at what point do we start to reach out to someone like yourself?
If you have a bunch of money, right, you're filthy rich, as some people are. Of course, it's going to help you get closer to your goals fast or achieve your goals faster, right? But most of us are not filthy rich. Most of us, have a decent paying job or are working ourselves to getting to that decent paying job where we feel comfortable, right? So I think the best time to hire a financial advisor is when you're really serious about achieving your financial goals, right? Your financial goal might not necessarily be to buy a $1 billion yacht, right? But it definitely can be to help send your kids to college or to buy that first home. And there's some people that are really good about, they're do-it-yourselfers.
Mm-hmm.
that they woke up at 6 in the morning, got to school at 7 because they wanted to make sure that they were not late by 7:30. So there's some people that are just really good at staying on track and doing the things that they have to do. However, most of us are not necessarily that, right? Some of us, take a little bit more time to sort of figure out what we need to do. So I think that for some people, they don't, because they have their stuff handled. But for most of us, I think it doesn't help to hire it doesn't hurt to hire a professional that has the expertise and that is going to help you keep you in track to achieving your own goals. I think one of the biggest P's that I add, or the biggest help that I add to my clients, is that I keep them accountable to what they said it's important to them. So, for example, if you and I are working together and you say, you know what, Herminia, to me, helping send my kids to college is really important. I'm like, okay, wonderful. Let's plan for that. Right. So we're saving in a 529 plan for a year, 2 years. Then all of a sudden, you just stop saving and you start going shopping and doing all these other things, right? And then at that point, I would have a conversation with you and say, hey, Linda, do we really need to recreate your financial plan? Because it seems that perhaps this goal might not be as important, right? So at that point, it's like, are we still on track? Do we need to update? And if that goal is still important, let's get you back on track to make sure that you achieve that goal.
So just one more quick question about how the relationship works. I mean, is the frequency depending on the needs of the client? Like when's the initial meeting? Is it like quarterly, like, hey, checkups with you? How often are you meeting with your clients?
So I meet with clients a minimum of 4 times a year on a quarterly basis, ideally. But usually for the first year that I work with clients, there's going to be a lot of education involved. What is a mutual fund? What's equity? When is the right time to buy? When it's not the right time to buy? When should we sell? So there's so many new concepts. So usually the first year, I'm probably going to meet a lot. We're probably going to meet a lot more, and then it has to do with maintaining the plan. Making a financial plan is basically a living document. Your life changes. What's
Right.
happening, right? For many people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure some people were ready to retire, next year. But for them, probably they're going to have to postpone their retirement, right? Or we don't ever know what life throws at us. And that's why it's important to have a planning partner to sort of guide you and make sure that we're taking the right steps to make sure that we get to our goals.
And talking about what life throws at us right now, we're in this situation that none of us could have ever foreseen happening, and there's so much uncertainty around the pandemic and what we can do and prepare and just make sure that we're taking care of our finances, our health, our families. And I know that you're a wealth of information, and I wanted to kind of shift focus a little bit about what kind of resources, relief is available specifically to some of the programs that have been passed for small businesses. So if you could just take a moment to just give us some high level overviews and perhaps share where our viewers can get information and resources to help them get this relief if they need it.
Yeah, so then there's the awesome thing is that the federal government has been able to respond in creating some stimulus packages, right? We had a first wave to small business owners, but unfortunately, it was exhausted within, the second week, right? So there was a second round of the stimulus package at the tune of like $310 billion, right? And this was just for this time actually for small business.
Mhm.
So you're able to get grants to help you pay and maintain your payroll anywhere from 2 to like 4 months, right? So you could apply and at any SBA bank or a bank that you have a relationship with, they'll help you guide you and fill out the application as to how much you can apply. I mean, you can borrow. And the good thing is that if you qualify, whatever amount you're able to borrow, you could potentially, that debt can potentially be forgiven. So don't necessarily, if you need the money, if you're a small business owner and you need the money, don't be afraid of how am I going to pay the loan later, right? Right now, we want to make sure that you're staying afloat, that if you have employees that you're able to pay for them or pay them. And then, I do think that there's going to be a lot of help when it comes to repaying that loan. I mean, the loan is at almost 0 or 1%. So the number one thing that you need to do if you're a small business is go to your bank, apply now, because this money could run out in the next week or so.
Right.
Really important to make sure that that's the first thing that you do. But if you're not a small business owner, right, and you have, in a sense, and you're wondering, well, what happens if I get laid off and I run through my cash reserves?
Mhm.
Where do I get additional money from? The
Right.
government is allowing you to actually tap into your retirement accounts at the tune of up to 100,000. And anytime, if you make a distribution anywhere, anytime, if you made a distribution anytime from January 2020 all the way to December 2020, they are going to allow you borrow or actually just get a distribution from your retirement account up to 100,000. And the beauty now is that you're not going to have to pay the 10% penalty. However, you are going to have to pay income taxes on that money. However, you could stretch it over the next 3 years. And let's say, you become unemployed, you have to tap it into your retirement accounts. That should be the last resort. But if you need to do it, let's say a year and a half from now, you get a job, fantastic. You're saving, you're able to put that money back into your retirement account, then as if nothing happened. There's no taxation or anything like that. So there is ways for people to not necessarily tap into their credit cards, especially if they have sort of long-term savings.
No, thank you. That's great advice and resources that we should consider. I guess put like on the reverse side of that is there are some people that actually do have maybe some extra cash available that they might consider starting investing. Is right now a good time to really look into doing that?
So it really,
Oh, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of feedback.
oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So it really depends on where you are, right? I say if you have no credit card debt, you have up to, 6 to 9 months of committed living expenses. Your job is pretty stable. And you have a good chunk of cash that you are okay or you will need in the next 3 to 5 years. I think it would be a great time to invest. There's some great blue chip stable companies that are up to a 50% discount from where we were pre-pandemic, right? And if you're a little bit less risk adverse, there's some great companies that are great quality that are super depressed just because, they're, for example, the travel industry. I'm not saying go buy, you know,
Mhm.
airlines, but there's a
Right.
great investment still that you can, in a sense, if you're patient and you're able to write the market, that you could definitely get a significant return. So don't necessarily be afraid. I often say that there's two reasons why people lose money. One is fear and greed. Greed because you want to get that extra percent of return, that you expose yourself to too much risk. And when there's a downturn, you lose it all.
Mhm.
Fear because people are so afraid that they're going to lose anything that they'll just rather leave their money in cash where they're investing it somewhere else and get a higher rate of return. So talk to a financial advisor, look at your savings, make sure you have enough cash reserves. And also for some people, if you have a credit card debt and you're paying at the tune of 17, 21%, pay your credit card first. Right. And
Okay.
some people might also say, well, I had someone that asked me, well, I have credit card debt, but I have savings. Should I pay off my credit card first? And because it's a scary time and I don't want to carry any debt. So for some people, I say cash is king for many. If you don't have, your 3 to 6 months of committed living expenses and your job is uncertain, I suggest, keep as much cash as you can. And as you're able, and things sort of calm down and we go back to normal, then you could go back and be a little bit more aggressive at paying down your credit cards. But at this moment, if you're sort of uncertain of your job security and your cash reserves, how long they're going to go, keep as much cash as possible.
That's really great advice. And I actually want to delve a little bit deeper into that. Um, you know, hours are being shortened. I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So I wanted to see if you could share any other high level insights, like right now you said, keep cash on hand. Is there any other high level insights you want to share with what people can be doing right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's really interesting. If anything that this pandemic has taught us is, the concept of mortality is very real. Um, I think sometimes if you're young, you're like, I'm not going to die. Only old people die or really sick people die. But this pandemic has shown us that, a marathon runner, super healthy, in shape, they could get sick and they could pass away. Right. So I hope that all our viewers live a very long, healthy life. Right. But we also have to make sure that we protect our family and sort of think of the what ifs, right? What if something does happen to me and I do get sick, and what happens then? So the first thing would be, if you have a family, I would suggest to look at your life insurance coverage. How much insurance coverage do you have? Is it enough? Do you have, right? And if you don't have life insurance, apply for some. A lot of times people think that it's very costly, but you could actually get a decent policy and cover your family for the immediate term, right? Also, get some healthcare directives. That's super important. That allows your family and the healthcare professionals sort of know what is it that you want to do with your healthcare, right? At some point, it could be that you're no longer able to advocate for yourself. So a healthcare directive allows you basically to speak rather than, creating that pressure for your family as to, well, what would she have wanted? What would he have wanted, right? So it makes it a little easier for them to make those decisions because in a sense, you already spoke and said what you wanted. And the other one, of course, speak to a state planner, right? Death is never a happy thing. Death is a devastating occurrence. But the last thing, it's going to be an emotionally devastating situation for your family. The last thing that we want is for it to be a financially devastating situation as well. So make sure you have your estate planning documents, your wills in order. Talk to your family and let them know what is it that you would want to have happen, especially if you have kids. My whole thing is, it's irresponsible of parents to not have life insurance if they have kids and to actually not let their loved ones know who they would want to have their kids be taken care of, right? Because a lot of times they say, oh, the court is going to take care of it. But unfortunately, the court doesn't know your family and they might not know what your wishes are. And they might not actually do what to you might be so simple and obvious.
Yeah.
So put it in writing, get it done before. And the other thing, there's going to be a lot of things right now, like you mentioned, the uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of things that life is going to throw our way. And one of the things, this might sound really simplistic, but there's going to be some things that we're going to be able to control, and there's going to be other things that we cannot control, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody can control, in a sense, how we can control to not go out, right? And not spread the But outside of that, we can't control what the markets are going to do. We can't control what our government's going to do. We can't control what our president's going to do, right? So there's a lot of things that we're not going to be able to control. So my thing is, let's focus on the things that we can't control and sort of take that approach of even though there's still a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of things that you can control and focus on that and sort of take your power from that. You can focus on how much you spent. You can focus on how much you continue saving. You can focus on how much love you give to your family on a daily basis, right? So focus on all the great and wonderful things that you can do, and the things that you cannot control, there's no point of necessarily worrying about them.
Yes. And I know it's a very heavy, actually, when you were talking as a mom, I have my own kids, and I have to say it's been on my to-do list to do a lot of the things that you mentioned, but given everything that's happening, it's like, I can't keep it on my to-do list. I mean, I have some things like life insurance, but I don't have the health directives, I don't have everything in taken care of. And as a mom, as a parent, like you said, it's so important for us to take care of that. And it's showing them love, I feel like.
Yeah, it's sort of making sure that so the reason why I'm a big, huge believer in life insurance, my father passed away when I was 1 year old. And my mother was left with 4 kids at the age of 29. No life insurance, no sort of formal savings, no formal education, because my mom was a stay-at-home mom. But, our life was very different, right? Because she had to work, we didn't necessarily had a lot of, mom being there. But I do think that if my father would have been prudent enough to create some sort of life insurance or some sort of legacy plan, we would have been able to enjoy mom more. We would have been able to sort of process all these things, So I do think that, especially in our culture, sometimes we say, oh, well, if you get those things in order, you're calling death. Nonsense.
Oh my goodness.
It just means that you're being prudent and you love your family, and that you want to make sure that they're protected regardless of whether you're here, whether you're not.
That's really, really great advice. And thank you for sharing your story. Now I really need to go get on that. Well, I think I was just going to try to log on to see if we had any comments or questions, but it doesn't look like we have anything specific coming in on the comment stream. But for those of you who might be interested in meeting or connecting with you after this call or have questions, do you have some contact information you'd like to share?
You could give me a quick call, and my number is 408-771-8109. Or you could just do a quick Google search, Herminia Ojeda, and I'll be the first one that pops up, Ameriprise Financial. So don't hesitate to give me a call. My door is always open. I believe that, especially within our Latino community, we need to empower ourselves more when it comes to financial matters. Know that, politics is another thing, but I think a lot of times we think of empowering our community. And I think that the best way we can do it is, of course, through education and obtaining financial parity. So the best way if we could empower ourselves, we're going to be able to empower our children, and, the change is going to continue. So
thank you so much. I do want to throw it out there that, if our viewers want to have another session, I hope that, if there's topics that come up, I would love to have you back on. And I appreciate your time. And this was a wonderful conversation. I'm going to be posting it. It's live, so we'll be able to share this. And I'll also post this stream on modernlatina.com. So if anyone wants to see it there, they can as well. So Herminia, thank you so much for joining and providing your contact information for everyone to get back to you if they have questions.
Have a great hump day. No.
That's true. Okay, have a good night. Bye.